Hey, what's up guys, Metaphor here, bringing you a Kayn guide for Season 8. This has been highly requested, and I am more than happy to finally bring it to you. Kayn's weaknesses don't really come from enemy junglers as much as it does laners, because most bad matchups in the jungle, you can just avoid with your E and queuing over walls. If your laners can't push in lanes or gain priority on their own, then you won't have access to the counter jungling avenue that you really want to abuse. Also, having weak laners means when the time comes and you want some orbs, you won't have a good time finding the right lanes to gank. Kayn is good into champions with weak early game, or champions that prioritize ganking over farming. If one of their early ganks don't work out, you can utilize Kayn's extreme mobility to get into their jungle and take whatever you want, or ward. Kayn's early fighting is deceptively good, despite the fact that everyone thinks it's terrible. If you take Electrocute and you can double proc your Q, and you land your W, you actually have pretty good damage. Also, using your E and walls mid-fight can give you a lot of extra HP. However, with Kayn's mobility, if you ever find yourself in a sticky situation, you can usually just get out of it. One of the biggest questions with Kayn is when to go what form. I truly believe there's a place for both Kayns, but finding the right scenarios for him are the hard part. A general guideline I follow is seeing how many melee champions they have, or how many range champs, basically how easy it'll be to get my form. The benefits of blue form is the ability to one-shot several people in a fight, or engage with your combo, and then stall out with your ultimate and wait for your team to follow up with you, since Kayn can usually get pretty far ahead of his team with his wall run ability. The benefits of red form is the ability to build tanky, and still be able to do a lot of consistent damage in a team fight. You can engage a team fight, and then use your ult to regen your entire health pool when you get low, or to dodge a lethal ability. Now the runes and masteries for Kayn are actually really straightforward. For blue Kayn, I like to take Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Zombie Ward, and Relentless Hunter. And for inspiration, I like to take Perfect Timing and Magical Footwear. Taking Magical Footwear allows you to buy more damage instead of buying boots, so it allows you to get power spikes a lot faster. Now for red Kayn, we have a few more options. We still take Electrocute, Sudden Impact, and Zombie Ward, however this time we're going to go with Ravenous Hunter for the extra spell vamp in fights. If we feel like our team is going to be fighting around one item or two, we like to go Inspiration so we can invest in damage items over Boots of Speed. So we like to take Magical Footwear and Perfect Timing because it's overpowered. Another page we can go on Kayn is the Resolve Tree Second. The reason why we would like to do this is if they have a lot of damage and you feel like you're just going to be scaling. This helps you a lot in team fights because you get extra armor and MR after 10 minutes, basically when your form comes online, and then Second Wind just gives you some extra sustain in fights, which feels really good with your other abilities. Last but certainly not least, we have Precision Tree. This is if you want more of a cookie cutter Kayn build, and you want more sustain and more damage in fights, and you want to take Triumph and Co-op Degrassi. Now, when I was talking about seeing what champions they have, you might have realized that this isn't possible if your first pick. I'm a firm believer that Kayn is strong in specific scenarios, so I actually don't like to pick him first. Usually I'll wait for their comp to be revealed, or see number through more specific types of auto attack before deciding if I even want to play Kayn. Teams will always have this, however there's form changers like Elise, Nidalee, and Jace who can mess up whatever form you want. Essentially, you want the easiest way to get your form, and the more you can identify and champ select, the better. There's 4 different jungle paths on Kayn. 2 of them involve counter jungling, and 2 of them are just in your jungle. I recommend the counter jungle path because it allows you to make use of Kayn's entire kit, and allows you to get an early leg up on the enemy jungler. So for the first path in the self jungle paths, it is full clear from blue to golems, if you just want a safe early game and a decent 650 to 700 gold first back. The second path would be buff camp buff. It's a very typical level 3 gank path that allows you to either contest a scuttle crab or go for an early gank. However, if they have a strong level 3 jungler, you basically want to avoid doing this. Now for the counter jungle paths. First, you want to start at birds, then go to red, wolves, blue, gromp, then make your way into the enemy jungle and head to the Krugs. After you take those, feel free to put down a zombie ward, and it gives you a really good XP lead on the enemy jungler. Now the second counter jungle path requires some thinking. If the enemy jungler doesn't do birds well in the first clear, think Jarvan, Sejuani, Kha'Zix. You can do birds, red, blue, into their birds, into their golems, then go back into your own jungle, take Gromp, wolves, and by the time you do that, your birds will respawn right about the time you arrive at them, and then you can take Krugs. You'll have a monster XP lead on the enemy jungler, and can use that pressure to take over the game. The best way to play Kayn's early game is to hit 6 as fast as possible, and no clip through walls to pick up free kills when you see them. After that, you want to focus on getting your form as fast as possible. Create mini goals in the game for yourself, like item spikes and how many orbs you need to get your form. Plus, you want to be gaining as many levels as possible to help keep yourself as focused as possible in the game. Riot really does a bad job at explaining Kayn's passive, and the best way I can explain it is think of 2 meters blue and red that need to be filled up to 100%. Every instance of damage you deal to someone that's melee or ranged will fill the bar up a little bit the more you attack them, and whichever meter hits 100% first wins. Now, the orb amount you acquire depends on the time of game, so that's what really confuses most people. If you were to get a pentakill at level 1, you won't even get a fraction of a bar filled. However, a single kill at the 12 or 13 minute mark, 100-0, will usually give you the entire form. Going for early plays won't really force you into the wrong form because of the time mechanic, so just make sure you go for the final kill at about 10 or 11 minutes. There's 2 different level up orders for Kayn, one for blue and one for red. For blue form, you want to go 3 points into Q to maximize your clear efficiency and early damage, then you want to max out W. After that, you want to max your E so you have more mobility on the map. On red Kayn, you want to do 3 points into Q, then max out W, then finish your Q into an E max. The reason why you want to do this is because your W is the most important ability in your entire kit. Without your W, you're nothing. But you do want to put early points into Q to help out your clear. For blue Kayn, you want Blue Smite Warrior into Duskblade and then Ghostblade. And then usually you want to pick up a Last Whisper. However, situational items like Hexdrinker or GA can come 3rd or 4th if you feel like you can stall your Last Whisper. For red Kayn, you want to pick up Red Smite, Warrior into Cleaver if they are tanky, or Death Stance if they aren't. Sticking to only 1 damage item is usually okay, but if you're fed, feel free to pick up a GA or a Maw. Other than that, just go full tank after Cleaver or Death Stance. The last part of the guide will just be focusing on some tips and tricks. So there's a few unique things that I like to do on Kayn that really ups my game while I'm playing. One of them would be using my Q into the wall while I'm clearing my jungle so that it double taps my Q and it gets the damage off way faster. If you compare this to a normal Q, you'll realize how much better it actually is. However, you want to make sure you're doing it as fast as possible and not taking free hits when trying to line up with a wall. Another important thing in Kayn's kit is the ability to use your R to dodge abilities. You can do this on red or blue Kayn, but it's a lot easier on blue Kayn because your ultimate has longer range. Using your E whenever it's up in the jungle is very important for making sure you're at full HP to prevent yourself from dying in ganks and dying to random invades. This can leave you a little bit vulnerable, so try to make sure you're being smart when you use it. Another great tip is chaining walls with your E. This gives you insane mobility around the map, and learning just what walls you can connect to can be the difference between making it to a counter gank and your teammate dying. A huge issue I see with new Kayn players is the lack of animation cancelling. Now, Kayn isn't Riven, but he definitely can animation cancel his auto attacks with his Q. Using this in the jungle will speed up your jungle clear speed, plus it can give you access to kills that you wouldn't normally be able to get with just your Q damage. A lot of people message me and say, Metaphor, why do you do so much more damage than I do when you play blue Kayn? And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I auto attack while my Kayn W is going off on blue Kayn. People don't seem to understand that when you cast W, your champion's free to move. So that also includes auto attacking. If you W, then auto attack into the Q cancel, you can output a massive amount of damage that you typically won't see. Now this tip isn't really unknown, but it's definitely something you want to keep in mind when you're playing Kayn. I wouldn't really recommend focusing on this too hard, but when the situation comes up, it's very, very useful. So, with the way Kayn's ultimate works, when you damage somebody, you have a couple seconds to press R on them, and it teleports you to them, and then your ultimate starts. So what you can do in the middle of a team fight is you can smite a key target with Blue Smite, and use your ultimate on them to teleport yourself in the middle of the fight. So whether you're just trying to get to the other side of the fight, or you're dodging an ability, or you're trying to assassinate a single target, it's really useful to know that you can Blue Smite somebody that you're not already on, just to teleport them in the middle of the fight. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you guys can enjoy playing Kayn as much as I do, and maybe one day I'll see you at the top of the ladder.